There are a ton of videos out there that can teach you how to shoot, and there are tons of classes that you can go out and take. There are tons of resources at your disposal to become a confident, competent, and even professional level shooter. But there is one thing that many people overlook that can really take you to the next level. Dryfire. Dryfire is manipulating your firearm with no rounds present. From holster draws to trigger presses to magazine changes, there are tons of firearms concepts that you can become extremely proficient in without having to spend a dime on rounds, range memberships, or gas to get to wherever the range may be. You can dry fire safely from home. While you watch a movie, before you go out to dinner, when you have 3 to 5 minutes of spare time, you can dry fire. Today I'm going to teach you how to safely set yourself up for dry fire, as well as some differences between dry fire and live fire training, and hopefully increase your capability in firearms manipulation virtually overnight. Let's roll. One quick caveat before we start, there's a ton of shouting online, "Dry fire's gonna destroy my gun!" And it's a mix of mostly falsehoods and tiny truths, so let's get into that right now. Many firearms can actually safely handle dry fire without ruining any of the internals. Most modern striker-fired pistols, modern hammered or double-action pistols, and most center-fire semi-auto rifles like AR-15s are good to go. Use extra caution when attempting to dry fire rimfire .22 rifles and pistols, older vintage single-action pistols, and break-action shotguns. These should not be fired without a snap cap, which is a caliber-matched dummy round that cushions the firing pin upon impact. To the doomsayers of dry fire, I'll say one thing. The reality is shooting live ammunition out of almost any firearm is far more damaging to the internals than dry fire. So the best thing to do is always keep a spare parts kit lying around, because replacing parts here and there and becoming a better shooter is more important than babying a tool. And if you haven't seen our recent video, How to Shoot a Glock, I'm going to assume that you know that information for this one. So the link to that video will be in one of these 4 corners. Now that we have that out of the way, let's set up. As you can see, I'm indoors, the pistol is in its holster, pointed in a safe direction on the counter, and we're going to assume it's loaded like always. To set up for dry fire, we need to make sure that our firearm is clean and clear of any rounds. So to start this process, I'm going to take it out of the holster, maintaining good muzzle safety. And now it's time to remove the magazine. We're going to press the magazine release switch, and place that magazine out of the way. Now we're going to pull back on the slide to eject any round that may be existing in the chamber. For redundancy and safety, we're going to go ahead and pull back on that slide a couple more times. Now we can pull back on the slide once more and lock it to the rear. From here, we're going to inspect the internals of the firearm in 2 places and in 2 different ways. First, we're going to visually inspect the breech for any brass or rounds. Then we're going to visually inspect the mag well for any mags or rounds. Now that we've visually checked 2 different places, we're going to physically inspect them as well. So I'm going to physically inspect the breech with my finger, and I'm going to physically inspect the mag well with my finger. Once we've confirmed there's no rounds on our double check, we're going to drop the slide forward. Keep the barrel pointed in a safe direction and pull the trigger to confirm empty. From here, we're going to pick up that loaded magazine and that extra round, and we're going to place them outside of our workspace. That could be outside of the room, in a drawer, anywhere where you won't pick them up during your dry fire session. If we do want to train with magazines, we're going to bring some empty ones into the mix, and we're going to confirm empty physically and visually as well. Now that we've prepped all of our materials, we still need something to aim at. And the critical factor to choosing what to aim at is by choosing a wall that won't have anybody behind it or in front of it during the entire length of your session, as well as letting other people in the home know that you're going to be dry firing and that they shouldn't be walking into that room or through your point of aim. Now that you've chosen the safest wall to aim at, I tend to put a 1" by 1" piece of painter's tape on that wall so that I have something small to aim at. Mind that if the area is confirmed safe, you can use almost anything against that wall. A light switch, a vase, even a lamp. But I tend to like the 1" by 1" piece of painter's tape because it allows me to point at something that's super small, and that allows me to see if my sight picture deviates when I go to finally pull the trigger. Now that our firearm and workspace are prepped, we can now work the 4 fundamentals from home safely. I can apply stance, grip, sight picture, and trigger pull from the wall. Now you may have noticed by now that if you pulled the trigger with no rounds present, the firearm will not cycle a new round or auto reset the trigger like in live fire. So in dry fire, we only really get the 1 attempt to practice our trigger pull. So once we're ready to do that drill again, we'll just press check the slide, and that will reset the trigger. And this is something I really want you to focus on. Because we have to reset the trigger manually, that gives us the opportunity during that press check to be continuously mindful that there's no rounds in the firearm. So I push out for sight picture, I pull the trigger, Now to reset the trigger, I pull back on the slide, and that gives me the ability to look inside, see the breech, see the mag well, no rounds present, bring that back to the forward position, and our trigger's reset and ready to go for the next one. By doing this, we're constantly aware of the state of our firearm throughout the entire dry fire session. And there is plenty to do to stack on the 4 fundamentals in order to get more out of our dry fire session. We can incorporate holster draws, magazine changes. If our space allows for it, we can set up a multi-target situation. We can even practice light activation as well. I just so happen to be showing you how to do this with a Glock, but you can basically do this with almost any firearm, including AR-15s, shotguns, virtually any firearm that you want to become extremely proficient in. Dry fire is the way to go. Now, if I can get so much better at shooting just by dry firing, what's the point of live firing and spending all that money and time anyway? And there are really only 2 main things that you have to go to the range for that you can't get with dry fire. And that's measuring real accuracy, confirming point of impact across different distances and ammo types. Dry fire can't show you where the bullet actually lands. And training recoil management. You need to be able to experience real recoil so that you can reacquire your sights and execute the trigger through the firearm's true movement cycle. And you may be wondering, how do I even know if dry fire is even helping me? And I have 3 tips to help you track your progress. Number 1, start slow. Develop perfect reps first and break it down into the fundamentals. Make sure that you're completing a solid stance, a solid grip, a solid sight picture, a good trigger pull, and then start to speed that up over time. And the second thing is to film yourself dry firing. This is going to allow you to see if your body's doing any extra movement that is not necessary in order to execute your shot. And the third tip is to take the same drills that you do in dry fire and repeat them at the live fire range. By tracking accuracy and mitigating recoil, that's going to tell you exactly where you're at. Dry fire is low cost, safe, and massively effective when done in this order and with redundant safety checks. Remove all live ammo from the room, use empty mags, press check often, and keep your focus on sight picture throughout the trigger press. I hope you guys learned something of value here today. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments section below. I'll be sure to take a look at them. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, yeah Raj.